To get started today, we're going to be discussing loneliness. For you in your life, you may have been raised with a background of complex trauma. Perhaps as you were growing up, you had parents that were abusive or neglectful in some way. They may have abandoned you. Um, you may have had parents that were mean. You may have had parents that were judgmental, that were cutting, that were verbally abusive, and you may have had to adapt to survive in that household. And so your process of adapting could have been to try to become whatever you needed to become to please your parents. And so for many, they become people pleasers, professional servants and servers. Some become comedians to try to keep everyone happy. Some become ultra compliant. Some become high achievers in school to try to please their parents, to try to get some ounce of love or some ounce of affection or attention or recognition from those neglectful caregivers. And the neglect that really creates the deepest scar, the deepest wound, is emotional neglect, because we carry the scars of emotional neglect into our adulthood. So if you feel like you may have gotten some scars of emotional neglect in your childhood, no doubt you find yourself still feeling that in your adulthood, and in your relationships. As you show up, you're still showing up as a people pleaser. You're still showing up as a perfectionist, as a high achiever. You may find yourself still showing up as what people call a doormat. You feel like you allow people to walk all over you. You may be the ultimate caregiver. You're always trying to take care of everyone. You're the big babysitter. Anyone who needs anyone to babysit, you're doing that. But ultimately, you're not just babysitting babies. You're babysitting actual adults. So you become the caretaker for grown men who have addictions to alcohol and drugs, or you become the caretaker of grown women who do not look to provide for themselves. And you keep falling into the same pattern. You may develop white knight syndrome, where you try to show up and be the hero every time in relationships. So you're always trying to save people. You're always trying to save either men or women. So you may find yourself showing up as a people pleaser, as a high achiever in relationships, and you're going into relationships with a supreme sense of desperation in order to please. And a lot of this comes from your core loneliness. And for us as trauma survivors, our loneliness goes deeper than the dictionary definition of loneliness, which would just be a feeling of being alone. Our actual definition of loneliness is a belief that we are nothing without someone else, a belief that we are incomplete without another person. And so our loneliness isn't just as simple as, well, nobody's around, so we're feeling a little bit bad. Our loneliness goes deeper than that, to where even if there are people around, we still feel bad. We still feel like we stand out. We still feel like we don't belong. We still feel like we don't have a place. You may have a viewpoint of yourself like, I don't fit in anywhere. When am I going to find my tribe? When am I going to find my friends, people whom I can get along with? And if you have that viewpoint of yourself, that creates a core program in your mind. So you're going into the world with the same core program. And again, you're showing up to relationships with a sense of desperation. You feel like you have a desperation to connect, a desperation to get away from this core loneliness. And that desperation, of course, is not healthy because it gets you into some problems. Think about some of the relationships that you found yourself getting into with narcissists, with predators, and you may have repeatedly had relationship after relationship, friendship after friendship that ended badly, or where you felt really trapped. And all of that came as a result of showing up desperate. And you showed up desperate and you went into that relationship because of your core loneliness. And your core loneliness is a fear of just not having someone else. So think about your situation right now. Why do you feel lonely? Are you thinking of yourself in terms of how you don't have a husband? Is that what's making you feel lonely? Are you saying you should have a wife? Is that what's making you feel lonely? Maybe you're saying, for me, I don't need to be married, just a boyfriend or a girlfriend would be good for me. Is that what's making you feel lonely? What's making you feel lonely? Are you feeling like, well, I just want to have a best friend? It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. What is your loneliness? Some people feel like I want to have like a group of friends, a group, or I want to have a family, or I want to have children. What is it that you feel like you're lacking that's making you feel lonely? Do you have it identified? What you feel like you're lacking? If you go back to when a child is born, do you look at that child and think, I hope that child hurries up and grows up so that it can get connected to another person, because that child is really worthless as it is, just born there, a baby alone? Is that how you look at a child that doesn't have a wife or doesn't have a husband? Because, right, all these children are coming into the world alone. Do you see that child as incomplete? Or maybe you say, no, that's crazy because that's a little child. But okay, well, what about as it grows up? Do you start to feel like it's incomplete when it's 7, when it's 10, 12? When does that child become incomplete as a human being? According to your viewpoint, you need to have a best friend. You need to have a partner. So when does a human being become incomplete? Please. When they become 30, that's when they're incomplete? Well, of course, we know that's ridiculous, right? A human being is born complete as a human being. They're autonomous beings, right? And so as a very small baby, it needs other people to survive. But when it grows up, it doesn't need other people anymore to survive, not on that same level. Moment to moment, minute to minute, it can go on, right? As an adult, it can go on and survive without having an immediate connection to other individuals. What's making you feel like there's a life or death need to have a connection with another person is the childhood wound that was created in your mind, because you felt like you were neglected or left behind by your caregiver. And the worst thing that you could have possibly done in your adaptation process is decide to abandon yourself. You felt like you were abandoned by your caregivers, and then you maladapted to actually abandon yourself. So the reason why you feel lonely is because you have actually abandoned yourself. That's the basis of your core loneliness. So now you feel like, well, if I don't have another person around, then I'm not complete. I'm not okay. Because way back, possibly even before you remember, you developed this idea that you're not okay because you don't have people around. And that was because you weren't okay as a child, because you didn't have people around. What programs us to feel like we have to have people around is a lot of times societal or cultural pressure. So you'll have it in the music, you'll have people in your community, and as soon as they see you, they're like, how come you didn't get married yet? How come you're not married? Where's your girlfriend? Where's your boyfriend? So you have that cultural pressure. We don't even want to go to our family's house because we're afraid of how they're going to pressure us and point out that we're alone. You may have in your childhood had caregivers that made you feel like you needed to be servants to them. So you became a professional servant or a parentized child where they looked at you as their therapist. So what happens is you get the idea in your head, I am meant to take care of another person. And so when you don't have someone around to take care of, you feel like you're pointless on this earth. But you're not pointless when you don't have another person to take care of. Each human being is made autonomous. If you look at yourself, you don't have any cords that are attached to you. There's no hoses that are still attached to you. Only when you're first born do you have that, right? You grow up and now you're an autonomous being. You're free to rove about and to live your life. Now, a best friend is no longer a need. It's a luxury. A man is not a need. It can be a want. It's a luxury. something you may want. To have a child is not a need, it is a luxury. To have a wife is not a need, it is a want. And it's important that you downgrade the idea in your mind from I have to have a wife or I have to have a husband to this is something I would like to have. This is something I want. It's not a need. Because when you tell your subconscious mind, this is a need, and your subconscious mind perceives you don't have it, it's going to send you all types of pain. It's going to flood your system with cortisol and adrenaline and just dump your system. You're going to be like, oh my God, I feel so awful. Why? Well, because I don't have a wife. You don't have to feel awful for not having another person in your life at any particular time. That is not required. Again, it's the way you're perceiving things in your subconscious. If your subconscious perceives that you're missing a need, it will flood your system with cortisol because it's alerting you, the conscious self, to take care of your needs. So it's saying, hey, you're missing something you need. But why does it think you need the connection? Because you are telling yourself you need that connection. Because you have given in to societal pressure or your cultural pressure to believe that that is how you're made and that is what you need. You are thinking that's what it's all about. And so you're telling yourself, this is what I need. This is what I need. I have to have another person. I have to have another person. And your subconscious is like, okay, we got you. We'll flood you with cortisol. That's what it does. Subconscious mind is there to alert you that it controls your emotional system. So then you go, oh, I feel loneliness. I feel so lonely. I feel so lonely. It's so painful. But why? It's because of your perceptions of your situation. See, if you view your situation from a different perspective, you will not get flooded with the painful chemicals, and therefore you will not feel lonely. For instance, if you remember that your spouse was abusive and that you really took a lot to get away from them, and now you're separated from an abusive spouse, that moment you don't say, I'm lonely, you say what? I'm free. When you realize that you've separated yourself from an abuser, you don't say, I'm lonely. You say, I'm free. Why? Because it's the way you're perceiving your situation. It's not that your situation has changed. It's that you're perceiving being alone as being free. So if you are a single person, or if you are someone who doesn't have the children yet, or doesn't have the wife yet, or doesn't have the daughter or the best friend, or you don't have your group of friends, change your perception of your situation from I am alone to I am free, from I am lonely to I am safe. Because now for the first time in your life, perhaps, you don't have someone abusing you. You don't have someone using you. You don't have someone neglecting you. Say thank you. Put yourself into a mindset of gratitude. Our core loneliness, that deep fear, comes from a maladaptive belief that we are not complete alone. Uh-oh, if I'm alone, that's not a good thing. And so that's what happens to you. You're just going about your day, and then you get struck with a pain of loneliness. You go, oh no, I'm lonely. But what it was is that you had a perception that you were with someone, and your subconscious said, oh, that's a bad thing. Flood the system with painful chemicals. Does that make sense? Change your perspective, change the chemicals. If you say, oh, finally, I can be alone with God, all of a sudden, what do you get? Serotonin, oxytocin, right? What is your perception? What is your perception of your situation? How are you looking at it? What we're going to talk about here is how we solve the loneliness. What is the solution? Your loneliness is a perception. Because some people are so happy to be alone, especially when they get out of a bad abusive relationship. You may have to remind yourself, oh yeah, when I had the spouse there, when I had a man in my house eating my food and going through my refrigerator, or a woman in my bed, or a best friend by my side, I didn't always get to do what I wanted. I had someone who was judging me. I had someone who was using me. I had someone who was draining on my resources. My time and my money was getting drained. Do you know how much money it costs to support a spouse? Or if you're the spouse being supported, do you know how much time you have to lose or money you have to lose to be the spouse that gives up the job to take care of the house? You are making major sacrifices to be in these relationships. And perhaps you've already spent years on a relationship only to get 10 years, 20 years into it and realize, oh, this person is worth nothing because they have no love in their heart for me. They don't even care for me. I've been fooled again. Well, why did you get fooled? Is it because you're stupid? Is it because you're gullible? Why did you get fooled into a relationship with a person who doesn't care about you? It's because of loneliness. It's because of your fear of being alone, your perception that being alone was the worst thing, which is a false perception. So you were like, I have to have connection. And so you found someone and you're like, okay, this. And you got in that relationship. You were connecting really fast and things were moving quickly and they're moving into your house. And then 10 years later, you realize, I cannot make this work. I got to go. I cannot make it work with this person. It all came back to your loneliness. That's why we have to fix it. It all comes back to your fear of being alone, to your perception that that is the worst thing in the world. No, being alone is not the worst thing in the world. Being in a relationship and still feeling alone because your spouse is abusing you or neglecting your needs, that is way worse. And feeling trapped in that relationship, that is worse. That's what you need to fear. I don't want to get trapped in a bad relationship. That would be a logical fear. Not, I don't want to be by myself. Being by yourself has a ton of advantages that you need to contemplate. So gratitude can help, right? Do you have an attitude of gratitude? Sometimes we can be like the proverbial person on the beach that's laying in the sand. They wake up, they find themselves laying in the sand and they say, oh, I wish I were standing up and I could feel the wind in my hair. So then they stand up and they can feel the wind in their hair and they look out and they see the water and they go, oh, I'd be happier if I were in the water. And then so they go out to the water and they're frolicking around a little bit. They're having fun. And then they realize, oh, I can't move around in the water very fast. I wish I had a boat. So then they get in a boat and they're riding around in the boat and they're zipping up and down the water. But the sun is scorching their skin. So they say, this boat would be nice if I had some shade. So they get a shade for the boat. And now they're able to relax on the boat, but they feel hungry. And they're like, I'd feel better if I had something to eat. So they get something to eat and then they become sad because they don't have something to drink. So they get something to drink. And then they're looking out onto the beach and they see the people playing and frolicking about and having fun, bouncing a ball back and forth. And they say, I feel sad now because I'm not on the beach with these people playing and having fun and passing the ball back and forth. So they get to the beach and they get with some people and they start passing the ball back and forth. And they're like, I'm too tired to keep doing this. I need to rest. So then they rest and they say, well, I would feel better if I was laying down. And then they lay down in the sand. And they're right back to where they started. The problem in the process was not that any part of the process was wrong. It wasn't what they were doing. But no matter what they did, they always felt unhappy. You don't want to be like that person praying to get out of this abusive, toxic relationship or to move out of the toxic household with your parents. And then finally, when you get out, you go, oh, I'm so lonely, though. I'm so lonely. I'm alone. This is bad. It's bad for me to be alone. Does that make sense? We need to develop an attitude of gratitude. Do you have an attitude of gratitude? Instead of going through each phase of our life, no matter where we are, regretting that we're not also somewhere else, regretting that we don't have what we happen to not have at that time, we need to be grateful for what we do actually have. So what can you be grateful for right now? Let's do a little gratitude meditation together right now. Let's think about what we can be grateful for right now. So if you're in a safe place where you can close your eyes and just kind of think for a moment about what you can be grateful for. Can you be grateful for not being in prison right now? Can you be grateful that you have your freedom, that you're not in jail? Can you be grateful that you don't live with your toxic, abusive, or neglectful parents right now? Meditate on that. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel to know that you have your privacy? How does it make you feel? Meditate on your gratitude for the fact that if no one is around you, that means that no one is judging you right now. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel to recognize that no one right now is abusing you? No one is judging how you use your money. No one is judging how you're keeping up your house. What about, despite whatever physical ailments you have, how does it make you feel when you meditate on the parts of your body that still do work? Don't you feel grateful for the physical health that you do have? How about the resources that you do have? How about the talents that you do have? How does it make you feel when you think about those? How about your potential? How does it make you feel when you think about the glorious potential that you have? You can open your eyes. It's so important that we meditate and we develop an attitude of gratitude for our current situation. We have to be happy that we're free from the predatorial person that we were once attached to. We have to be happy that we survived. That's the ironic thing about us as survivors. Sometimes we're not actually happy that we survived the situation. We got out of the situation, but instead of being happy about it, we're worried about the next thing that we don't have, like that person on the beach. Enjoy it. Enjoy laying in the sand if you're laying in the sand. Enjoy standing up if you're standing up. Enjoy being on the boat if you're on the boat. Wherever you are, enjoy those moments. It's not that you can't look out and develop a desire for something more. It's okay to have an ambition for something, but recognize that that is just a want. That is not a need. Those are wants. We can heal our loneliness by changing our attitude toward ourselves, because at the core is our self-abandonment. When we decided that we were going to abandon ourselves, perhaps as little children, we've lived the rest of our lives always caring and catering to everyone else, always worrying about everyone else's well-being, but meanwhile neglecting our own. So the reason why we feel lonely now is because we've abandoned ourselves. It's not because there's not another human being around, because another human being is not the source of our worthiness. You don't need to get validation from them. They don't make you valid because they're standing next to you. Oh, I have a girl on my arm, now I'm valid. No, that's codependency. That's maladaptive thinking. Just because you can get a girl to stand next to you or you can get a guy to be in your life, that doesn't make you valid. They're just a human. You're a human. You make yourself valid by loving yourself, by validating yourself the way your father should have validated you when you were growing up. Now it's your time to give yourself that validation. If you didn't receive it as a child, I am sorry, but you're not a child anymore. So now, regardless of had you received it or not, it is your responsibility to validate yourself. Are you building yourself up? Are you taking yourself out on dates like you would if you had a spouse? You'd be taking them on dates. Then you have to take yourself out on dates, because that's loving yourself as you love the other person. You have to love yourself equal. That's how you don't abandon yourself. You see, when you say, "Oh no, but I'm not going to take myself out to eat. We got to save money." Would you say that to your spouse? "Oh no, I'm not going to take you out. I'm not going to do anything for you." That's abandoning them. I don't have time for you. I'm not going to do anything nice for you. I'm not going to buy you any new clothes. I'm not going to spend time with you. That's abandoning your spouse. So if you wouldn't do that to the other person, then stop doing it to yourself. Give yourself everything you need. Care for yourself. If you're not taking yourself to go and exercise, you're abandoning yourself. If you're feeding yourself just only the bad foods and not the good ones, you're abandoning yourself. If you're like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just me, it doesn't matter how I feel, it doesn't matter how I look, you're abandoning yourself. That's why you feel lonely. When you take care of yourself, you don't feel alone. In fact, you're happy to be alone so you can spend more time taking care of yourself. Taking care of yourself involves giving yourself the things you want in life, pursuing your purpose in life, trying to fulfill your potential in life. We can stop living the nightmare when we start to chase the dream. The dream being your purpose, your vision of the future. But are you focused on that dream? Are you going to bed every night envisioning what your future should be like, what you want it to be, and waking up every morning and laying a brick toward your purpose? Because if you're not laying those bricks, you are abandoning yourself. You can stop the cycle of a self-abandonment right now. You can start to care for yourself right now. Take yourself out for dinner. Take yourself to the beach. You got to be out in nature. You need those nature walks, those nature hikes. You got to be out on the beach. You got to be near the water, or you got to be climbing the hills or near the trees. You know you need it. Just like you would care for your child or another person. That's how you got to care for yourself. And when you stop abandoning yourself, there will finally always be that best friend that you've always wanted. When you're doing the things that you enjoy, when you're out in nature and you're in the clubs, the chess club and the volleyball club and the basketball club, when you're joining these things because you're taking care of you, you're not abandoning the self. But what starts to happen? All of a sudden, you start meeting these other people that you always dreamed you wanted a connection with. Because the irony of the loneliness is we say, I feel so bad. I feel so bad that I'm alone. And so we fill it with immediately whatever we can, drugs, alcohol, addictions, right? And that takes up our time, and we end up not being the person we want to be. If you're not the person you want to be, you can't attract the types of people you want to be around. If you're not the person you want to be, you can't attract the types of people you want in your life. You're going to find them out being the person you're supposed to be. Because when you're in the club that caters to your special interests, that's where you're going to find the friends and that tribe of people, and potentially even a spouse. Not that it's about that, but that's where you find them. You find them on the other end of self-love, self-care. That's where they are. They become attracted into your life when you are caring for the self properly. So you won't be alone if you'll be with yourself. Choose yourself.